Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to, after 2 weeks of not being around, the Crimson News Network. Glad to have you here tonight. There's a decent bit of things to talk about. We have a couple of, the 10 problematic anime articles that I found that I figured would be fun to go through. So we're going to laugh at CBR and their dumb take on this one. There is some Gachiakuta glazing to be done with this, so I'm always down for that. I like the show. A little bit of talk about making fun of some Aussies who are doing stupid shit. Possibly, if I can get rid of this fucking pop-up ad. Okay. If you ever needed a reason to hate Crunchyroll, well, we've got another reason to hate Crunchyroll. Obviously, what the title is named for, the issues that are facing the upcoming season 3 of One Punch Man. That is a big one, and a little bit of the new stuff that is going to be coming out here that we have seen a decent bit of. But that said, say hi to the chat, and hello, JM the Elite Fan. Thank you for stopping by and saying hello, Marcel. Good to see you. Hope you've been doing well. And rather than wait for anyone else to show up, we're just going to dive into this. So the big to start the night off, I should probably have the right tab up so I can instantly go into this. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the new sorry, that's not supposed to be up. We're going to talk a little bit about some new stuff. So this came across my feed, and reading the plot synopsis of this was just too ridiculous to not talk about it. Marriage Toxin anime announcement soon. So new web domain marriagetoxinanime.com has been registered. Don't care about any of that. It was really the plot of this that would just made me do a double take. So listen to this. And I will make this a little bit bigger so that everyone can see it more clearly. Action comedy by Yoda Mizuki and Jo Myakun about a hitman who is using the help of a cross-dressing marriage swindler to find himself a wife and save his lesbian sister from getting forced into birthing an heir for their assassin family clan. Excuse me? I don't even care if we have hit the time limit yet. I'm saying it. Excuse me? What did I just read? So this dude is teaming up with an actual trap to make sure that his lesbian sister doesn't have to have sex with a dude. All because they're part of a clan of assassins and they need an heir. Whew. Look, this is why I love manga and anime, because it is just a great collection of the truly bizarre and unusual kinds of things that people write about. Keep anime weird. That's why it's fun. Still not Unikai-san's dog level of degenerate. What the fuck is that synopsis? Yeah. Well, I figured a lot of people would be just as caught off guard by this as I am. Because that is a flashbang of words put together right there. That is just a mental flashbang of a synopsis. And I couldn't not share it with the world. Everyone has to know about how absolutely ridiculous this is. And just really quick, I am going to share that to a Discord just very briefly. Just so that it doesn't get lost, and just so that everyone else can see how ridiculous it is. Hello, Arceus. Nice to see you. All right, next on the list, I haven't talked much about this because I haven't been around, and I apparently need to close my DMs on every one of these. Fuck. I should have paid attention to that earlier. We're talking about Akasaka. Akasaka. How have I been? I exist. So, okay. Slowly becoming more and more radicalized as I, listen to stories of Monsanto and Apple and all the goofy shit that corporations get up to. But politics, I don't do that here. Okay, little too much, a little too much. So if ever there was a lol cow uh of a mangaka at this point, I believe Akasaka would be that person. This dude just can't seem to knuckle down and commit to a series. And to this point, from everything I've seen, the only thing that he was committed enough to give a decent ending was Love is War, which I'm happy about. But Oshinoko's ending was not good. He I believe it's Love Agency was his next manga after that. That one didn't last very long. It wasn't very popular. Then there was Martian Crown, which I enjoyed the first couple of chapters of, and then I stopped reading because, well, that's a problem with me. But the dude can't seem to just do anything, and now he's moved on to yet another manga. The least committed mangaka I have ever had the displeasure of keeping up with. So, Akasaka is working on a new manga called CRBR, Crazy Raccoon Battle Royale. It's a Japanese-based esports team, and loves Apex Legends and has taken breaks from writing the manga to grind the game in the past. So yeah, this dude abandons more manga than Chinese parents do unwanted daughters. That one might be a little bit spicy. That might be a little bit spicy there. Sorry. But speaking of people who are moving on to new manga, there is, of course, Gege Akutami. Now, a lot of people felt like the end of JJK, where it was kind of anticlimactic, like it could have been better but wasn't. Though I saw people complaining that it was rushed, but here we have Gege Akutami will be starting a new manga series on September 8th. And I don't actually hate his writing. Well, I do think it probably could be better. Given what I've seen of Jujutsu Kaisen, I don't think he is horrible. He hasn't earned the reputation of someone like the previous mangaka we just talked about, Akasaka, where you can just about expect him to abandon anything at any given point. Kaguya-sama was fun, was the only one I liked from him. Yeah, I'm getting to that point as well, where like the only good thing he has done is Love is War. Either way, it looks like Gege is looking to get back into doing manga with a short-term serialization of something completely different. So this is interesting to see. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what he will do because at least I'm willing to give him another chance to do something really good because for the most part, I did enjoy a lot of what I have experienced in Jujutsu Kaisen. So. I'm not sure if I talked about this one yet, but Farming Life in Another World Season 2 is going to be coming out in 2026. I keep forgetting to close these. And get rid of the tabs. Also, hello, Jeremy. How you doing? Glad to see you around. So I enjoy this. It's one of my favorite junk food isekais to just, have around. It's basically just I am going to plow fields and plow fantasy girls, the anime. And I don't know which one he's actually plowing more, because apparently this dude in the background here gets it on a lot, to the point where, the vampire girl is dragging everyone else into the bedroom antics because she can't keep up with it. So that's a thing, apparently. But yeah, I mean, if you're not familiar with this, basically, dude gets reincarnated into an isekai world, decides he's going to live his farming life and everything, and it's a nation building sort of experience. Is it on par with like top tier nation building kinds of things? Probably not. Definitely not. But it's an enjoyable little junk food isekai, like I mentioned, to just pick up on a random like day off or whatever and binge. It's only like 12 episodes. And unfortunately, they cut a lot of the more intense sections of the story out of it because, well, it has to be the wholesome one. You can't talk about him smashing literally every girl in the world. That guy has infinite stamina and a whole tribe of hot elf girls that want to save their race. Yes. Yes. 2 tribes of elf girls in the manga, as far as I've read. But that does bring us to a bit of a transitional point, because we now have our first official showing of One Punch Man season 3, scheduled for October 5th. A little over a month from now, One Punch Man returns for its 3rd season.
なんか最近騒がしくなってきたな。そろそろ行くか。ワンパンマン、10月5日日曜、放送開始。
I mean, it's an interesting bit of music. And this being the first that we've, heard about this series leading up to season 3 is interesting. Normally something with this much hype and this much fanfare would have been paraded for months and months and months leading up to this, but there have been some troubles. There have been some things that people have voiced. So this short little preview, kind of hard to judge anything that's going to be coming from. However, we do have more when it comes to the One Punch Man situation that we will be talking about tonight. So here, here in this, it's not like there's anything in the DMs that I need to like absolutely hide. It's just like I feel unprofessional. Anyway, here's the director of season 3 of One Punch Man. And now we will talk a little bit later about like his his background in animation and all that. And he's basically like he directed hentai. A lot of hentai from everything I've seen. Anyway, this dude has been put in a very, very rough position with season 3. So this is what he came out and posted, finally talking about who is involved with the anime and how it's going. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Shinpei Nagai, the director of One Punch Man Season 3. I completely understand everyone's reactions. Please calm down and hear me out, if you would. I'll explain why I was chosen, and it might be a bit long, but please listen. I've been a freelancer from the beginning, and that hasn't changed. At 37, I wrapped up my apprenticeship and stepped into the anime world with a work called Hero no Kakera. I learned how to create hybrid animation with 3D in a project called Aquarion Logos. And after that, I switched to a 3D company for just 1 year, contributing to image boards for Altered Carbon and such. My goal was always Manglobe. That's something. I honed my skills on episode 6 of Gangsta and Samurai Flamenco, among others. I was aiming for a hybrid of 3D CG and hand-drawn animation, but as everyone knows, Manglobe ended up closing down. Okay, it's a studio. In the midst of that, JC Staff became a long-term partner, commissioning me for storyboards and direction throughout the years. However, since I'm relatively unknown and don't have standout achievements as an animator, I thought it might give a bad impression. So I asked to keep it under wraps. So now we understand a little bit as to why nothing has really been said about One Punch Man Season 3. The director has found himself in a pretty difficult position, knowing that he might not be the most qualified person and that it would result in a lot of scrutiny for a very popular anime to be directed by someone without a lot of experience. Not wanting to have to go through that, and I honestly don't blame him, he decided that he was just going to be radio silent until closer to the release date. Then, when the consultation for One Punch Man Season 3 came up, I focused on incorporating new workflow, something I discussed in CG World, bridging 3D and 2D workflows to squeeze out even one more second of production time. I sincerely apologize for keeping quiet about this. The team is giving it our all on site. I can't discuss details about the production, but I'm open to answering what I can within limits. So that was effectively the big statement that kicked off the One Punch Man buzz today. And I believe I could find some of this. I would have to look them up again. But I do know a lot of people were talking about how he was involved in directing hentai. So I guess we can move on to, of course, I'm getting more and more like or less and less a fan of using Packer Girl in like news shows and stuff after some of the posts and stuff, but it's a good compilation of information on One Punch Man, so here we go. We have the list of staff and cast for season 3. Where's our lore master Ivan and Lethal when you need him? I believe I posted the shows that he's directed in a tweet with a tweet in the Weebs and Waifus Discord. So I can pull that up in a bit, but I'm going to keep going through the One Punch Man information that I have here before I get to that. So the original work is, their director, series composition, Tomohiro Suzuki, character design. I don't really see any problems with this. We can move along. I have a few little scraps of art. Here's the next post. I'm sorry, wrong one. Moving on down. So here's how he describes himself later on in some of these posts. I am a director who specializes in romantic comedies and short animations. I have never worked on action projects like One Punch Man in my career. Considering all that, don't you think the likelihood of me being chosen is close to zero? Ozawa-san is the only person I've known for over a decade with whom I can openly complain. I'm sorry for not meeting your expectations. And it just keeps getting worse. It's over. I've done almost everything I could. And yeah, there we have, the whole compilation of it all. And with that, it's an interesting situation that we find ourselves presented with when it comes to One Punch Man Season 3. We knew that there's already been some complaints about the turnover from Season 1 to Season 2. People didn't really like the animation change. I never really had a problem with it, but then again, I watched this back when I was first starting anime, so I didn't really have the same eye for detail that I do now. In terms of season 2 to season 3, a lot of people were really excited for season 3. The announcement came, everyone got really excited. I got really excited. And then there was radio silence for quite a long time as to what was going to happen with this show. And to answer this question, why was he chosen then? The guy doesn't even believe in himself. It may just be an issue of desperation. That would be my first guess, is JC staff needed someone and they couldn't find someone, and he was the person they chose. It's kind of, I feel bad for the guy because it almost seems like the production was in such a bad place that they literally just like threw him in on it and like, here, fix this. And he's coming out ahead of time, having not said anything for months on end, having to apologize in his first official statements about the anime he's been working on. This one, I would expect season 3 might be rough. I would expect we're probably going to be looking at an interesting bit of situation here. Let me see if I can quickly. Here we go. Okay. Here is the tweet that I had that detailed what he worked on. So we asked for names earlier. So apparently these are some of the things that he worked on. I don't know if this will get me, in trouble, but we have Hime Dore and Dark Chapel, as well as Kurai Mirai. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. So he did some key animation for them. Interesting stuff. So does his previous work have good animation? Yes, actually. Interesting. Please give Tatsumaki the fattest ass. Interesting. So yeah, we now have a lot of answers as to like what's up with this. Hey, hold up, from hentai to Pokemon, JDA would be intrigued. Good old John of the Rice. I was actually stumbling across. So funny enough, I actually used to be involved in a lot of the same indie circles that guy would run in. So I had been familiar with JDA since before he made himself the enemy of the entire internet. So a lot of the old indie authors who a lot of the indie authors who I used to see get along with JDA in the past, have effectively started calling him out. One person who did a really good post about what the dude is all about, Herman P. Hunter on Twitter. He's another indie author, but he basically just calls John out for being a drama farming loser. And constantly starting shit to try and shill his books, and even going so far as to say John Delarose would push his own grandmother over the side of a cruiser or of a cruise liner, just to sell an extra 100 books. I don't know anything about the dude other than his horrible takes on Gunnar Gate and Pokemon stuff. Basically, he used to run with Comicsgate. He is an indie author. I knew him because I used to be involved in the indie sphere. I actually have been on streams for like indie comic stuff with A Drink with Crazy. And his books, John's books would come up there. I know The Drink with Crazy actually did a few interviews with John and everything. But that is old school. Well, not really old school. It's like a year old Crimson lore there. Gunnar Gate. To explain Goonergate, basically, right around the time Donald Trump uh, won his reelection in the U.S., every like half of the conservative sphere of influencers, Melanie Mack, John Della Rose, especially Razor Fist, they all came out and started talking about how like anything that was uh yeah, basically anything that was remotely fan service or slightly sexy was, to quote Razor Fist on this one particularly, spiritually caustic. It should be banned. Effectively, the mask slipped and they revealed just how prudish and totalitarian they were as well the moment they felt like they had power. And a lot of people called them out. It was really funny because everyone was asking Razor Fist about his opinions. And at that point, he quit side scrollers and just decided to, fuck off into the ether. Everyone's favorite internet tough guy. And to this day, Razor Fist still maintains that he wasn't running away from anyone, but literally he quit after people bombarded him with super chats asking him about the Goonergate stuff. He got really fed up, quit side scrollers, and just said, well, I wanted to work on my comic. That aside, it's interesting because a lot of people have been pointing out that there are a decent number of anime that were actually, or good anime that have been directed by previous hentai directors. So I'm not like completely disregarding everything that is going on with One Punch Man season 3, but the fact that it gives the appearance of a production in chaos makes me concerned for it. That is the big thing that I am terribly concerned about when it comes to One Punch Man season 3. Not so much that I think the director is, gonna do a bad job or anything. He looks like he's at least fairly committed to trying to live up to people's expectations, even though he doesn't believe he's the best person for the job. Exactly. I believe the director for Kill La Kill got a lot of his experience with hentai. There's some other ones. I would have to look. That's another thing that I would have to find. Yes, I do hope we will all be pleasantly surprised with this because I enjoy One Punch Man. But that said, the big thing to move on to next would be a little bit of shitting on Crunchyroll. So we'll close all of these down, reduce the RAM allocation because I don't want to be wasting all of my fucking RAM on Google tabs. And we will bring up, so Crunchyroll has a history of being pretty bad with its subs and dubs. Sometimes it completely sometimes it just like it does a terrible job subbing things. And they like completely mess up entire lines of dialogue and shit. Other times they just completely fuck over the production. Like with My Dress Up Darling, they fucked up the subs so bad that one episode was almost unwatchable because the subs didn't line up properly. However, none quite compare to getting something so wrong that you accidentally put Rent a Girlfriend's intro over To Be Hero X. Apparently, they mixed up in with the Brazilian dub. The audio to Be Hero X was mixed in with Rent a Girlfriend. So here you go. This is just the funniest part. There's a bunch of dudes beating the shit out of this motherfucker. This like J-pop ass song. It's the greatest thing I have ever seen. This is. I gotta watch this again. It's just so good. Let's make it full screen. It's like the memes fucking make themselves with this one. I mean, come on. I respect the hell out of that. It's just the happy ass music as this dude's getting the shit beaten out of him. Oh. And to be fair, I like it more than the original scene. Oh man. So yeah, I mean, Crunchyroll has had an issue with doing their subs and dubs and everything. Like I said, you never need a reason, or you never need to look hard for a reason to shit on Crunchyroll, because they leave themselves open to a lot of scrutiny. I mean, ask a ReZero fan how they felt about the way Crunchyroll treated ReZero Season 3. Like, no promotion, subs were wrong in a lot of cases. But they were more subtle errors than anything that happens here. Like, this is just straight up like a whole ass fucking whiff. Same with what happened with My Dress Up Darling that I mentioned earlier. I believe it was episode like 3 or 4, where they just completely forgot the subtitles for half of the episode. Everyone's got to have a little laugh every now and again. But we're going to move on to something that I don't think is really quite a laughing matter, and this involves what is generally referred to as nuisance streamers. People who will go to a country with zero regard for the native culture and do stupid shit because they think it's going to get them internet clout. I actually think it's easier to watch anime literally anywhere else. But hey, that's just me. All right, let's share this tab, because now they're coming from Australia. So, Aussie YouTuber under fire for allegedly stealing from graves in Japan. An Australian influencer has come under fire in Japan for stealing from a grave and making videos on it, with locals now reporting him to the police. Nuisance content creators have been popping up in different stories around the world. They're typically tourists jetting in with the... Yep, I posited the Yakuza take care of these fools, and the problem will solve itself real fast. I would like something to be done about people who do this to any country, genuinely. People who go to another country and start just being disruptive and shitty and obnoxious to the natives, regardless of who you are, you shouldn't do that, okay? You're going to someone else's country, be polite, be respectful of the culture and everything. Just don't be an asshole. Anyway, they're typically tourists jetting in with the goal of upsetting locals and leaving for another country before the authorities get on their backs. Johnny Somali is the most obvious example. He is facing years in prison following a spate of charges in South Korea for his nuisance content. If you're really interested in seeing a lot of that coverage, Legal Mindset has, I believe that's him, yeah, Legal Mindset has been doing a lot of coverage of everything that has been going on with the Johnny Somali cases. He has much more detail on that than I do. Japan is also a target for such nuisance behavior. Somali, real name Ramzi Khalid Ismail, has previously been arrested in the country after fighting with locals and disrupting businesses. So, Australian Lockie Jones is under fire for his behavior in Japan. Now, Australian influencer Lockie Jones has come under fire for allegedly taking a can of alcohol from a gravesite. Jones from Sydney posted the clip on social media in August under the title "Suicide Forest Japan Part 2 Graveyard Flip." In the video, the Aussie could be seen walking into the grave site and flipping a coin near a grave where he had found an unopened can of beer. A whole can of Kirin. Should I drink it? He asked viewers before winning his coin flip and opening the beer. What the hell is wrong with that guy? That's not just trashy behavior in Japan, but all over the world. You won't get much of a punishment, I'm afraid. I miss the days when people were too afraid to be assholes to each other. The world has gotten so comfortable and cushy that people are completely fine with being assholes to each other because they think there is no consequences. His clips have come under fire from locals, with many alerting police and reporting the Aussie for similar behavior. He finally went beyond stealing offered drinks and laid hands on a rabbit figurine. He threw away empty cans, placed a model gun on a tombstone, pulled out the sotoba erected to honor the deceased, and spewed insults. Can you forgive a guy like this? One page said, pointing out a clip of Jones taking a rabbit figure from another grave. My advice is to keep surveillance on him till he leaves and notify Japanese immigration to deny him entry on his next visit, another said. Sotoba are the chopsticks they place in rice. I would assume so. Or at least, how they will light incense or whatever. Either way, taking something that left in memory or left at someone's grave in memory of them is a really shit thing to do. And it's not even like I can say that I don't know where I'm going with that. It comes from everywhere. Whether it just typically I expect this kind of behavior from retarded ass Americans who go abroad and do stupid shit in other people's countries because for some reason my country thinks that they're the center of the world and that if they go somewhere, everywhere else has to, follow the rules of the US. I've been talked about a time, or I believe showed a clip of some American tourists in Mexico doing shit like this. It's fucking stupid. Is the Japanese police and law enforcement going to do anything about this? He defiled graves 2 times already. Throw him in jail, another asked. Hurry and ban him from Japan, another added. Jones has continued posting clips on Instagram with a TikTok profile in his name, also poking fun at some of the headlines he has made. This is what these people want. The best you can do when it comes to these people is just ignore them because what they want is to rile people up and get the attention. You know why? Because nobody had heard of this fucking twat before he started doing all this shit. Now, all of a sudden, everyone knows his name. It was the infamy that people realized nuisance streamers would get. if they did this shit. That has driven a lot of them to continue doing it. Much the same way news coverage has actually driven, more people to sorry, I complete derailment of my news coverage has driven more people to go and commit awful, terrible acts in public places with guns. Okay, that is something that we have actually studied and found to be the case. Is the intense news coverage of shooters has actually inspired more people to become shooters. And the same thing is happening here. People realize that you can get infamy, that you can get the attention you want by being an asshole. That's why I say I miss the days when people were afraid of being assholes, not just because there were consequences, but because there was no notoriety to be gained, at least not very easily, by being a complete dickhead to everyone else around you. And this shouldn't just apply to nuisance streamers, this should apply to anyone going to a foreign country. Like I said earlier, just try not to, disrespect an entire nation when you go there. That should be the norm. But so many people are like stuck in this mode of, well, it's my culture, therefore I have a right to practice it like all the time. And like, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm looking at Americans in this particular instance. Or just I'm going to disrespect it for the attention because I know people will freak out and talk about it. I think I actually may end up just, not that it really matters that much, but I may end up just stop covering nuisance streamers because frankly, I don't want to give them the attention because that's what they want. I don't want to be a part of the machine that keeps feeding their ego because all they want is the clout from having done all this ridiculous stuff. And now, Johnny Somali is a rare case. Johnny Somali is someone who thought he was getting the attention he wanted and is now really feeling the burn. He's really feeling the consequences of his actions. I don't think the vast majority of nuisance streamers are actually going to have the same issue unless they start just absolutely bringing the hammer down on literally anyone who does this kind of shit. I actually think that there should be fines in place just inherently for streaming yourself being completely disrespectful. Yeah, that's another facet of it, I guess. I guess there is that. I guess that there is that point. I think more people need to get. This is going to get me in trouble. I think more people need to grow up getting their ass whipped with a belt, for being a little fucking shit than we have today. That might solve the problems. People learned a little bit of discipline while they were growing up. Anyway, we shall continue on. So, what else is next? Oh, yeah. 100%. So, this article by Screen Rant is two things that I love. One, shitting on Boruto. Two, glazing Gachiakuta. Okay. So let's talk about this because I thought it was funny. Forget Boruto. Crunchyroll's new anime is Naruto's True Heir, written by someone who understands that Boruto is shit. It's safe to say that Boruto, Naruto Next Generations hasn't been the best successor to Naruto's legacy. It is still incredibly popular as a story and as a manga, but I just don't like this show. I think it's a terrible sequel to Naruto. Much of the hate Boruto receives tends to be overblown, but whether it's visually, narratively, or thematically, it just continually fails to capture what made Naruto so special, especially when it comes to the manga. The idea of Boruto failing to live up to Naruto's legacy has always been a heated topic of discussion. It won't die down anytime soon. What isn't helping matters is how other anime do a better job of following Naruto's legacy, and a new Crunchyroll hit in particular is doing an excellent job of that right now. Why Gachiakuta is the Naruto successor fans have been waiting for. Look, man, I just want to shit on Boruto. It doesn't matter to me if it makes sense. I have a blind hatred for this show. No matter what facts or logics you will come at me with, Boruto is shit. That will always be my response. If there's any new Crunchyroll anime that's continuing Naruto's legacy, it's Bones Films' Gachiakuta. Well, Gachiakuta has a wildly different premise from Naruto. Both series are about kids abandoned by society because they're seen as monsters. And while Rudo seeks revenge as opposed to Naruto seeking respect, that just makes Gachiakuta a darker take on Naruto's premise. See, I see the similarity you're trying to draw there, but to be entirely honest, I don't know if that in and of itself is enough to make a similarity or to make Gachiakuta the successor to Naruto. But I do respect the Boruto hate and the Gachiakuta glazing, so we're going to continue on with it. The action also creates another parallel between the two. Not only does the power system surrounding givers and vital instruments create a nice parallel to chakra and how, but both users rather simplistic natures but both use their rather simplistic nature to convey some truly creative action scenes. And it's always great to watch because of that. Above all else, Gachiakuta and Naruto are both about overcoming adversity by understanding you aren't alone in the world. And despite its punkish nature, Gachiakuta is just as earnest about that as Naruto. That earnestness is always at the core of Gachiakuta's writing, and it's sure to make a big hit for years to come. No, it seems more like it's focused on this idea that there are some similarities here between Rudo and Naruto. I will give it that. And it does have some similarities in the fact that they are, outcasts who I didn't mean to fucking do that. They are outcasts who are slowly sort of, finding a group of people who actually support them. With Naruto, it's a lot of his classmates as he actually gets to work with them. With Gachiakuta, it's the cleaners. It's easy to see how Gachiakuta follows Naruto's legacy. I mean, you have some loose connections there, I guess, especially compared to Boruto. For starters, Boruto takes the criticism of Naruto's action becoming too big and over the top and doubles down on it with every arc. It has a habit of making the fights largely uninteresting to watch, especially in the manga. Boruto especially falls short of Naruto in terms of writing, as not only there are new characters not as interesting as the old, and the old characters criminally wasted, but the pacing and thematic message of Boruto almost always falls short of Naruto, unlike Gachiakuta. It doesn't have anything else going on to make up for it. Yeah, I wouldn't say Rudo is angrier. I actually think Rudo is much more tame than Naruto ever was. Naruto didn't need a successor, but if it's going to have one, then Gachiakuta is a far better successor to Naruto than Boruto for how it plays off of Naruto's story, while still having something unique to offer. Boruto isn't without merit, but if anyone wants something more like classic Naruto, then Gachiakuta is the way to go. So I will say my biggest complaint about Boruto I haven't seen Naruto. I've only seen Naruto saying believe it. So basically, it's all the negative aspects of Naruto without positive to balance it out. I'm not cognizant of either series. So with Boruto, I would say that's the case. Gachi Akuta, I feel like does hit a little bit closer to what Naruto actually was. The issue with Boruto is that like it said, you waste a lot of like the really good characters, and its story just isn't really all that good. It plays off of a plot point that wasn't quite wrapped up by the end of Naruto, but isn't honestly all that interesting. Nobody cared about the interdimensional chakra vampires. That was actually one of the worst parts of Naruto, and they carried it over into Boruto. So, big mistake on their part. With that being said, there is more Gachi Akuta glazing. If you haven't realized, I really do enjoy Gachi Akuta. But it gets good after 150 episodes. No, it gets tolerable after 150 episodes from everything I've seen. A brand new anime just overthrew one of Crunchyroll's biggest shows just 1 month after its release. So, this summer saw the release of one of the best anime series of the year, which, of course, has since been streamed on Crunchyroll, produced by Bones Films and directed by Fumihiko Suganuma. Gachi Akuta premiered on July 6th in Japan, where 7 episodes have aired so far, with 8 expended in 2 days. Exactly. The final battle of Naruto is against Kaguya is the worst part of it. Because it's just so out of left field and unnecessary, and they decided that that was the plot point that they were going to run with for Boruto. Fans may recall that immediately upon its debut, the dystopian anime was one of the most popular on streaming charts, racing the top a few days ago and surpassing. So I do think that the glazing on this is a little bit intense, but there's some interesting points in here that I did want to bring up, such as solo leveling. However, that's about to change as a spanking new anime has overthrown the streaming favorites in a pretty unexpected move. Currently leading the Crunchyroll charts in the US is Clevitas, the dark fantasy anime directed by Kiyotaka Taguchi. Gachi Akuta, on the other hand, sits at number 3, with Rising of the Shield Hero now between the 2 hit titles. Of all things, I did not expect Clevitas to be ranking the highest on Crunchyroll's charts. Clevitas has also attained some attention in Germany and the UK, where it ranks among the top 10, similar to Gachi Akuta. The former premiered on July 2nd, 2025, and has 9 episodes released, with the 10th scheduled for September 3rd. And Leidus produced the anime series with Keigo Koyanagi. Imagine building up the main antagonist for 300 episodes, and in the last 20, you throw him under the bus and pull a new one out of your ass. Yes. No, Naruto is my favorite anime. I will still 100% trash the ending because I do not know what the creator was thinking. Anyway, do you think Clevitas is better than Gachi Akuta? I think Clevitas has a much more interesting story. Inspired by Yuji Iwahara's Enchanting manga series, Clevitas follows the titular character, a demon king who, after slaughtering a group of heroes and destroying an entire kingdom as revenge for attacking his lands, takes a baby belonging to the kingdom's royal family. Okay, this is basically just plot synopsis. It's just basically saying that currently in the US, according to Crunchyroll, which is just people who watch on Crunchyroll, Clevitas, Shield Hero, and Gachi Yakuta are the 3 most popular anime of the summer. Interesting. I have yet to watch it. I will try to, but I have been working decently hard on my To Be Hero X review. So I will try to catch up with that at some point. Either way, we are now approaching the end of the night, and I guess we can go over. I have 2 of these, but maybe I'll save one of them for next week because we have 10 problematic harem anime you absolutely should avoid. And we also have 10 problematic 90s anime we can't believe still have fans. Both by CBR. But in this case, we're going to talk about the harems one because I posted it earlier and I thought it was going to be funny. So we're going to talk about those are horrible articles. Oh, I know. I absolutely know, and that is why I am covering them. So, without further ado, other than the pilot, best episode this season to me. Oh, I'm really looking forward to it then. Let's talk about some harem anime that you're apparently supposed to avoid. So, harem anime can be fun in theory. The genre should be a mix of romance, comedy, and quirky characters, all vying for the attention of one lucky hero or heroine. But more times than not, the formula veers into lazy writing, uncomfortable fan service, or outright bad ideas. Instead of being sweet romance stories, the show becomes cringeworthy messes that are hard to watch. While some harem anime can balance their fan service and character relationships with actual storytelling, others just spiral out of control into exploitative cliches and bad jokes. Many of the series, like High School DxD and To Love Ru, are popular, but popularity doesn't make them good. In fact, some of them are guilty pleasures at best and toxic wastes of screen time at worst. These harem anime push the trope too far and are definitely to be avoided by anyone who loves decently written romance or even respectful storytelling. Wow, I thought I was pretentious as fuck. This is a whole other level of fucking pretentious. Okay, so Yosuga no Sora. Is this even a harem anime? Crosses into taboo territory. There are enough harem anime that rely on gratuitous fan service, okay, or toxic relationships. But Yosuga no Sora goes further than most. The anime quickly escalates to more mature material, broaching taboo topics. The most infamous of these is how the show handles a romantic affair between siblings. While it tries to make it seem like an emotional, melodramatic love story, the manner in which that is performed is extremely disturbing. So basically, it made you uncomfortable, therefore it is bad. Fuck off. Unlike the majority of harems, Yosuga no Sora simply does not rely on trashy humor or excessive fan service. The anime goes all in on shock value with the themes that are near impossible to separate from the disturbing connotations. While the anime attempts to package its story as bold or emotional, it ultimately becomes an example of how far the genre can go when shock value is prioritized over sensitivity. Well, maybe your sensitive ass needs to be put back in diapers. The World Only God Knows was derailed by misogynistic undertones. Oh, this is gonna be a fucking banger. This is gonna be fucking good. Okay. On paper, The World Only God Knows sounds brilliant. A gamer obsessed with dating sims has to use his skills to make real girls fall in love with him to save their souls. It's creative and could only have a could have been a sharp commentary on romance tropes. Unfortunately, the execution sinks that possibility. The girls are written as if they are conquests. Each arc is identical. The hero manipulates their feelings, gets their hearts, and then departs. Rather than deconstructing dating culture, the series reinforces the idea that women are prizes to be conquered. To add insult to injury, the anime is actually well drawn and filled with smart references. In a case where the creativity of the premise only makes the missed opportunity sting more. So basically, it wasn't the feminist, the pro-feminist propaganda you wanted it to be. And therefore, it was basically just a dumb harem series, and you overthought it. And look, I will admit, there are times where I do fucking overthink shit. I have said it. I am pretentious as fuck, and I talk about a lot of things that may not actually matter when it comes to the anime. Because that's how I do things. But this is something else. At least when I make these observations, I will say, but that might not have been the point of the anime. That might not have been what the author wanted to go for, and he just wanted to do something fun. And yes, the whole buzzword thing, like over under at least 5 buzzwords used in this article, we're already at 2. There we go. To Love Ru mistakes harassment for humor. To Love Ru is often called a harem classic, but it's actually famous for the wrong reasons. The season follows Rito Yuki, an unlucky high school student who finds himself in accidental affairs with multiple ladies who repeatedly fall for him. Far too many times, these are nothing but cringeworthy gags that have nudity or harassment in them and are brushed off as harmless misunderstandings. The repetition is agonizing. Nearly every episode relies on the same joke of Rito tripping into a compromising position. What might have been forgivable once or twice quickly spirals into an exhausting cycle of fan service that completely replaces storytelling. What's worse, the anime influenced a wave of similar shows that leaned into harassment as comedy, cementing this as a tired genre staple. While some fans consider it nostalgic, its humor hasn't aged all that well. So somehow accidentally tripping into someone is fucking harassment. That is some fucking, now that's not just brain damage, that is full on lobotomized bullshit. Infinite Stratos has no redeeming qualities. Now, mind you, I haven't watched any of these so far. Infinite Stratos has everything it needed to be a fun sci-fi harem story. The futuristic mecha suits, the academy setting could have delivered exciting battles alongside romance. Instead, the anime focused almost entirely on shallow relationship drama and uninspired fan service. Again, complaining about the fucking fan service. God, you repeat yourself so much. The lead, Ichika, is perhaps one of the blandest protagonists in anime history. He is surrounded by a group of women who all develop romantic feelings for him despite their paper-thin characteristics. Meanwhile, the actual sci-fi idea is barely touched, and the series is like a wasted opportunity. What really hurts Infinite Stratos is how joyless the plot becomes. The action isn't thrilling, the comedy isn't fun, and the romance isn't convincing. It's no surprise that even fans of harems often rank this one at the bottom. Look, it's one thing to not like an anime. It's another to actually just like straight up tear into it and be completely fucking adversarial to it. High School DxD is mostly exploitative fan service. Few anime are synonymous with problematic harem as High School DxD. The show is openly about fan service, demons and angels, but the story pretends to be something that it's not. Issei Hyodo, the protagonist, longs to be a harem king, and the show offers this up as funny, even something to be wished for. The issue is not that there is too much fan service itself, but that the anime tries to complicate the plot with surface level emotional complexity. Inappropriate gags undercut gruesome moments. The female characters are reduced to eye candy with little agency. God fucking damn it. While the anime has some entertaining fights and flashy visuals, it's hard to take anything seriously when the writing treats every situation as an excuse for exploitation. Fans defend High School DxD as self-aware, but there is a fine line between parody and indulgence. Basically, the complaint here is fan service, fan service, fan service, fan service. Oh my God. Teichi Muyo hasn't aged well at all. So Teichi Muyo is often called the grandfather of modern harem anime, but being first doesn't mean it holds up. The series follows Teichi Masaki, a perfectly average boy who suddenly finds himself surrounded by alien women vying for his attention. The anime set the template for decades of harem shows, but it also introduced many of the problems that still plague the genre. The main issue is Teichi himself. He's bland, passive, and offers no reason why every character would fight over him. The show repeatedly leans on tired gags and rivalry drama between the female leads, rather than giving them meaningful development. So basically, the female characters aren't focused on enough. While the anime deserves recognition for starting a trend, Teichi Muyo ultimately represents everything frustrating about harem anime. Modern viewers will likely find this more exhausting than endearing. Rosario Vampire is buried under overused fan service and tropes. Okay, sounds like another ecchi anime. Rosario Vampire could have united supernatural action with romance, but the plot prioritizes fan service, so the story is barely relevant. The male hero, Tsukune, somehow finds himself at a school for monsters, and nearly every girl he meets there falls instantly in love with him. What follows is a parade of tired cliches, endless panty shots, and contrived situations that add nothing to character growth. Despite having some neat monster designs, the show never really does anything with them. The anime may potentially be a guilty pleasure for those who enjoy the genre, but the story cannot bridge its supernatural premise and romanticization in any way whatsoever. By the time the anime is over, Rosario Vampire is a list of all that is wrong with the genre. Negima, Magister Negi Magi, has a disturbing premise. How many more? How many more? 3. Okay, I can make it through this. While the vast majority of harem anime struggle with cringeworthy fan service, Negima, Magister Negi Magi, overshoots by basing the story around a 10-year-old boy who has dozens of older female classmates. What has the potential to be a lighthearted magical romp turns intensely uncomfortable. The anime frequently puts Negi in compromising positions that are played for laughs, generally involving lewd jokes and situations that seem exploitative. The girls are given little meaningful development and instead serve as punchlines for romantic rivals for literal children. The most frustrating part is that Negima had real potential. Its fantasy setting and huge ensemble cast ought to have been used to create a lighthearted fantasy adventure. Instead, the anime wallows in uncomfortable setups that make everything hard to watch. Even devoted harem enthusiasts will confess that this one went a little too far. Maken-ki crosses too many lines. Okay, well, what's wrong with this one? Maken-ki is a great example of harem anime that mistakes edginess for entertainment, mixing the supernatural fight sequences with incredible amounts of fan service. The show pushes its gags to terribly cringeworthy levels that start as a cliche soon. What starts as a cliche soon turns from bad to worse, as a result of the anime's obsession with sexually charged violence. The female characters are constantly humiliated or assaulted, with death threats played for humor. The battles are underwhelming, giving little depth to compensate for the poor writing. Failing even in a genre with its own share of dubious tropes, Maken-ki is one of the worst offenders. The anime manages to be boring, cringeworthy, and grueling, all simultaneously. It's one of the easiest harem anime to recommend skipping. Monster Musume is fetish bait. Okay. Now, we finally reached one that I have seen, or that I have read, I should say. At first glance, Monster Musume, Everyday Life with Monster Girls, seems like a fetish spin on the harem formula. The idea of different monster girls competing for the affection of one protagonist is fertile ground for comedic humor and creative design. Unfortunately, the anime ends up using the idea for fetish-driven fan service. It's an ecchi manga. It's an ecchi manga. Of course it fucking has fan service. The show continually pushes its situation to the extreme and is far too frequently balancing the on the precipice of being disturbing. How? How is it? How is it disturbing? Like there are a lot of like genuinely like straight up wholesome moments in this fucking etchy manga. I have read like 19 volumes of this shit, and you get like decently good arcs for these characters, you know? Far from celebrating diversity or creativity, Monster Musume lowers its diverse cast to walking caricatures of fetish stereotypes. More disappointing is how much it was welcomed, being recommended as a must watch for harem anime fans most of the time. In reality, it's a prime example of everything wrong with the genre. How many times is everything a prime example for everything wrong in the genre? You are a fucking broken record. Take a drink every time they say everything wrong with the genre. Hey, don't step on Snake Wipe, okay? Oh no, there's an author. It's like Demi something. For anyone looking for fun monster themed anime, there are far better options than this. It's by Demi Phillips. Is there like a profile I can go to on this? An anime and film TV writer, his biggest brag is claiming he's been watching anime long before it was cool. Over the past 5 years, he's translated his love of anime. Demi continuously preached the gospel of Attack on Titan and Dragon Ball Z. So he's a shonen fan. BuzzFeed. Okay, that basically says everything I need to know about the dude. Did who crash? Something wrong? I hope not. Oh well. That's going to be it for tonight. Next week we will cover the 10 problematic 90s anime we can't believe still have fans. We'll go over that another time. Because I'm kind of like my voice is running out here. I'm starting to feel it. And there are some other things I do need to do tonight. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes. I feel like we've covered a decent bit of stuff. So we're going to call it there. Like I mentioned, upcoming To Be Hero X review. That's the next big video I am working on. And then, of course, animated on Saturday. That's what I'm going to be doing. Hopefully, I can get another video out and work on a couple of other projects. I'm going to be busy. But if you haven't liked, please. I would appreciate it. If you aren't subscribed, you're somehow new here, and this is the first thing you've ever watched from me, please subscribe. I would appreciate it. I'm trying to hit 1,000. We're getting close. And if you really, really, really want to keep up with me, I am on Twitter at Crimson Lawson. You can find me there. Otherwise, I hope you all have a good night. And I will play us out with, I forget which clip I queued up. Oh, it's this one. Okay. We'll play it out with good old Ragna Crimson.
My problem is that you're a real asshole.
People tell me that a lot. I would say that it's one of my strong points.